Today, I'm going to be talking about how effectively does the use of digital communications for business reduce our carbon footprint. So first, let's talk about climate change. I'm sure we're all familiar with the term as we think of ice melting and sea levels rising, but it's a lot more than that, and millions of people are changing their lifestyle in order to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. One way people are lowering their carbon footprint is by digitally communicating in businesses. But how does this decrease our carbon footprint? Well, let's start by defining a carbon footprint. A carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gases generated by our actions. And the average Canadian footprint is around 15.59 tons, almost 4 times the world average. That's insane. And if we don't want the polar ice caps to melt, we gotta lower this, specifically by utilizing digital communications. First of all, what parts of business cause climate change? Well, one big contributor is driving your car to the office. Unless you're walking or biking 2 hours to work every day, the majority of us take fossil fuel burning cars and buses. Transportation accounts for 28.2% of all greenhouse gas emissions in the US, with carbon dioxide being the most abundant and well known of those greenhouse gases. This compound consists of one carbon atom and 2 oxygen atoms. When your car burns octane gasoline, which is CH18, it uses the abundant oxygen gas to undergo complete combustion in a heated environment, also known as a car's engine. The resulting products are CO2 and water vapor molecules, which are emitted out through the tailpipe. With an average car emitting 6 tons of CO2 each year, it's going to do significant damage to the environment and your carbon footprint. Paper used in the office also has a negative impact on the environment. Did you know that producing 100,000 sheets of paper requires over 8 fully grown trees and almost 2,000 kilowatts of energy? It may not seem like a lot, but it has a carbon footprint of 6.6 tons of greenhouse gases. Wood consists of 3 biochemicals, which are cellulose, long strands of glucose that make up 40 to 45% of the dry weight, hemicellulose, shorter strands of glucose that make up 20 to 30%, and lignin, which is a group of organic compounds that act like glue, holding the fibers together. There are also 2 main types of chemical pulping, which are sulfite and kraft pulping. In both processes, harvested wood chips from trees are boiled in a solution called white liquor at 423 to 453 Kelvin in a basic pH environment. The purpose of this is to remove lignin from the wood and separate the cellulose fibers. White liquor is a solution of water, sodium hydroxide, and sodium sulfide. When lignin is introduced to the basic pH levels of white liquor, it leads to the ionization of phenolic hydroxyl groups. Phenolic hydroxyl groups are hydroxyl groups that are attached to an aromatic ring, like the ones here circled red, and they become ionized, which breaks the bonds between lignin and makes the lignin soluble. The dissolved lignin is collected in the form of a thick liquid called black liquor, and it's evaporated to make the lignin-rich solids. This lignin byproduct, however, emits more poisonous gases compared to coal, and it's emitted out in the environment, polluting water and air. However, by the use of digital communications, we can reduce our need for cars to get to work and reduce paper consumption. Using platforms like Zoom and Google Meet means we can communicate over long distances without ever having to step out of the house. This means we have no need for our cars because there will be no need to drive to the office for a meeting. There are 328 million people living in America, and if half of them stopped using cars for a year, we would save 35,673,913 metric tons of carbon dioxide each year. We can also use platforms like Google Docs and Gmail as an alternative to paper documents and reports, which will eliminate the need for paper entirely. This sounds great and all, but the use of digital communications does attribute to your carbon footprint as well. A typical laptop left on for 8 hours a day consumes 150 to 300 kilowatts of energy per year, which corresponds to CO2 emissions between 44 and 88 kilograms. Even though that sounds bad, it's nowhere near the impact fossil fuel transportation and print have on your carbon footprint. So why wait? Make the transition today and reduce your carbon footprint.